Thank God we have the Nolan movies. Just thank God. I'm not even doing my standard introduction, guys. I can't. I can't. Honestly, I can't do my standard introduction for this. I can barely keep sanity right now. Really, I can't. I can barely contain myself with what I'm going to say about this movie. First of all, let me just get this out of the way. We all know this movie fucking sucks. We all know Batman and Robin is one of the worst movies ever created. Everybody knows this. Everybody has said this. We all know this. That's nothing new. We all know that Batman and Robin is a horrible, horrible movie. And I knew that going in. I knew I hate it. And I knew it would be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And I'm going to say that right now. This is one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my entire life. It is. There's nothing redeeming about this movie. Let me say that right off the bat. There is nothing redeeming about this movie. Okay, let me talk about the biggest problem with this movie, and the biggest problem with this series in general. Again, as I said in Batman Forever, Joel Schumacher doesn't know what the hell he's doing with this movie. Let's get to the plot of Batman and Robin, just the plot in general, which is ridiculous. The plot is so stupid to this movie. Now, you may think the plot is about Mr. Freeze and everything, and yeah, it is about that, but honestly, I think the real plot to this movie has to do with the main storyline. Basically, Poison Ivy is obsessed with plants and everything. She basically wants to make her mission succeed, so she tries to turn Batman and Robin against each other, and basically, in the meantime, you have Mr. Freeze, and there are like 500 other subplots, and of course, Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze team up to take down Batman and Robin, because they have to do that in every single movie, because we know how well it worked the first 2 times you did it. And that basically is this movie. It's just 2 hours of non-stop, horrible awfulness. Really, it is. And there's so much that's been said about this movie, and there's so much that I could say, and you guys are gonna be like, well, everybody said that. Because you have to talk about it, okay? I'm sorry. There's certain things when you talk about this movie, you just have to talk about why something like this exists. I'm watching this movie and I'm like, why the fuck does this thing exist? Like, seriously. We live in a world where Batman and Robin is a thing, where this movie, the stuff that happens, exists, and it's so stupid. We first have to get to the acting in this movie. Now, let me just say, you can't really blame the actors for this movie. They have all come out and said this is the worst thing I've ever done. In fact, if you talk to them, they'll just randomly bring it up. George Clooney has apologized numerous times. Recently, he apologized, just out of nowhere. Arnold Schwarzenegger recently apologized as well. I just saw an article about him, like, apologizing about it. Everyone has apologized for this movie, which is understandable. Well, I mean, it sucks. But you can't really blame them because it's mainly because of Joel Schumacher's direction that they're so bad. George Clooney. Okay. What can I say about George Clooney? He's a great actor. He really is. He's done some very good movies. Just recently, Tomorrowland, which you guys should see. I know that bomb, but you guys should definitely check it out. Let's think of the different people that have portrayed Batman. You had Michael Keaton, who everyone was really skeptical about and did a great job. Val Kilmer was pretty good. George Clooney is not even trying. He's not. Completely wouldn't. Nothing about George Clooney is good in this movie. Nothing. You don't feel him as Batman. He doesn't have any real emotion. There's this scene, I mean, here's how he introduces himself in the movie. Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman. Literally, it sounds like he's reading off the script. That's how bad it is. He just sounds like he took the script and he was reading off of it. And he couldn't get past how bad the lines were that he couldn't just say it. Because who can say it with a straight face? Seriously, I can understand why he just said it wouldn't. Because he wanted to get it out of the way. You can see the look on his face in this movie. He's not happy to do this. Honestly, he's not. I mean, there are so many scenes of just awkward pauses with him. And that to me just seemed like they did that because he didn't really know what else to say. I mean, how can you, like, improv with this movie? I mean, if this had been a good movie, George Clooney would have done, like, ad-libs and things like that, because George Clooney's like that. I think he would have stayed really committed to the role, but he knew this was bad. You can tell that he knew this was bad, and something that they got completely wrong with George Clooney is that there's no difference between him as Bruce Wayne and Batman. He's not intimidating as Batman, and he's not funny or, quirky or, like an asshole like Bruce Wayne is. He's just this guy. Honestly, that's how he doesn't portray Batman as this awesome superhero. He portrays Batman as this guy that wears a suit with bat nipples on it. I'm sorry. I can't say that word without laughing. Bat nipples. I don't know who decided that bat nipples was a good idea. I talked about in the first in Batman Forever. It wasn't as visible. When you make it visible, it's just bat nipples and bat ass in my face and bat crotch. You know what kind of movie you're watching when your movie begins with that. Seriously, you know what kind of movie you're watching. Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! I'm sorry, I had to say that. Again, Arnold Schwarzenegger, really good villain. Horribly miscasted in this movie. And I'll talk about why he's miscasted. He's just not, he doesn't work as Mr. Freeze, and I don't think anyone could have worked as Mr. Freeze. Every single line of dialogue he has is just some sort of ice pun. I mean, there's literally a scene where he invades a party, and he's like, sorry to invade the cool party, like, it's like, cool party, and it's really stupid. Stay cool, everybody remain, like, it's really dumb, honestly. It's really dumb how many puns he has. There's one scene towards the end of the movie, and I was like, finally, he doesn't have a nice pun, and then it just ends. I'm like, okay, fine. And, yeah, he's not good in the movie. He's extremely unmemorable, and his character is ridiculous. Really, he is. The whole movie, like, he's only doing this because he wants to preserve his terminally ill wife, and he turns into this criminal. It didn't make any sense, and it's not supposed to. It's really dumb. Chris O'Donnell as Robin. Okay. Again, I hated him in the first movie. He's really the only person that I knew I was going to hate even more. Here, he's even more annoying because most of the movie, Robin is under the spell by Poison Ivy. The subplot with him and Poison Ivy is one of the dumbest things I have ever seen. Poison Ivy puts him under the spell so he'll fall in love with her and try to turn against Batman. He has one of the best lines in the movie. It's one of the worst lines in the movie as well. He's like, it's Batman and Robin, but it should be Robin and Batman. And I'm like, that's the kind of movie we have. The kind of movie where he's saying, oh, it should be Robin and Batman and not Batman and Robin. I'm tired of it being all about you. Yeah, here's the thing, Rob, you wouldn't be here if it was for Batman, so shut the fuck up, thank you. Chris O'Donnell as Robin. So annoying, so much like a teenager. The first line he has in the movie is, I want a car. Chicks dig the car. Like, that's how stupid he is, and that's how dumb his character is. I don't even think that if the screenplay would have been good, Chris O'Donnell would have done a good job. He's just genuinely terrible as Robin. I don't know if he's a bad actor, but he's horrible as Robin, honestly. He has a character completely wrong. There's a scene towards the end of the movie where there's this crazy thing going on, and he's just like, let's just sit here and pray. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sit here and pray and remain calm. And I'm just like, really? That's what you're gonna do, Robin? Okay. So much for you saving the day. Well, Batman would save your ass. You're sitting here, and you're just gonna pray. Alright, I guess Batman, fuck you, Robin. I mean, Batman should just leave you to die. Like, honestly, things like that, he should have just left him to die. It was really dumb. Uma Thurman very much reminds me of Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito in Batman Returns. It very much reminds me of that, in that she was completely over the top. She was probably the most committed actress to this movie. That doesn't mean she's good. She is straight up a porn star in this movie. Every line she says, she's like, hello there, I'm obsessed with my plants. There's literally a line where I think she's like, I want you to tend to my garden, and I'm just like, this isn't Batman XXX, which is a real thing. You can look that up. That is an actual thing that happened that actually pays good homage to the original 1960s TV show, which this kind of does as well because of how dumb it is. But her character is just so dumb. She's obsessed with plants. She's trying to turn Robin against Batman. Everything about her is so stupid. We didn't even need her in this movie. Mr. Freeze was enough. We didn't need Poison Ivy. She just made the movie even worse than it was. I mean, there's not one scene where she's subtle. There's not one scene where she's not over the top. He is just ridiculous, honestly. She's completely ridiculous in this movie. Really, she is. Oh, also, something I forgot to mention about George Clooney. If you saw this movie in theaters, he will actually pay you $10 in person if you saw the movie in theaters, which is actually really funny. Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl, completely pointless in the movie. I don't see the point in her being in this movie. Her character is ridiculous. I mean, they didn't even go with the right, like, origin. Her name's Barbara Wilson, when her name's supposed to be Barbara Gordon. It's like little things like that that they thought weren't a big deal. They are a big deal. Like, at least try to be somewhat accurate to the comics. It's so dumb they did that, and I hated that, and I thought Alicia Silverstone just gave a terrible performance in the movie. She really did. Michael Grau is Alfred. Alfred is dying in this movie, and you don't care. You don't care that Alfred's dying. You see him way too much in the movie. When the movie's not an action movie, there's all these, like, really sad scenes. You don't give two shits about any of them. Really, you don't, because of how badly they're done. I mean, what he's dying of is ridiculous. I mean, he's dying of something called McGregor's syndrome. What the fuck is that? I don't know. But he was just ridiculous in this movie. Really, I don't like that they tried to make Alfred this funny guy, and then have him dying as just like, all right, way to kill the first two movies, you know, way to kill the first two movies, I guess. Um, let's get to the worst of the worst in this movie. This movie would not be half as bad if Joel Schumacher had not directed, because now Joel Schumacher basically did what Tim Burton did. He's just like, fuck all of this, I don't care what happens, I'm just gonna do whatever the hell I want, I don't care what anyone says, I'm gonna do whatever I want, Batman, I don't care if I kill the franchise. He didn't even care, really. I think Joel Schumacher purposely wanted to destroy the franchise, because there is no way he actually thought this was a good idea. If he was, he had to be on, like, acid or something. Which, honestly, some scenes in this movie make me feel like make me feel like I was on acid. There's, like, an auction scene. It was like an acid trip. It really was. I mean, I didn't feel like I was watching Batman. I felt like I was watching, like, something you watch when you were, like, high. That's how I felt. That's what I felt like I was watching. But his direction in this movie is some of the worst direction I've ever seen in my life, honestly. His direction is just horrible. Everything is just wrong in this movie. Everything. There's nothing. Everything's cheesy. Everything's over the top. And it doesn't have anything that made Batman good again. He's taking all the bad omens from Batman Forever and putting them in this movie. The double villains was never a good idea. The movie's way too convoluted. Just everything is just horrible in this movie. The directing is so bad. And I'm so happy that everybody hated this movie. When this movie came out, everybody hated it, because Joel Schumacher actually was planning to do a third movie. That's how committed he was to this movie. He actually thought there could be a third movie. And it's ridiculous. In fact, this movie ends on a cliffhanger because he thought there could be a third movie. And I'm like, seriously, you actually think there's going to be a third movie to this? And let me tell you guys something. There was a third movie planned. It was actually supposed to be called, let me get the title right, Batman Triumphant. If that movie had happened, Nicolas Cage would have been the villain, and he would have played the Scarecrow. Yeah. If you thought Arnold Schwarzenegger was bad, just picture Nicolas Cage as, like, the Scarecrow. Oh, I'm the Scarecrow, I'm Nicolas Cage. Like, that's literally... There's a guy in this movie that has a line that Nicolas Cage would have been perfect in, and, like, I'm surprised he wasn't in the movie, but just picture him in this movie. Seriously, he... Oh my god. Just... Wow. Joel Schumacher. Just wow. It's actually very amazing how bad this franchise got. I mean, you look at the first movie, it's pretty good. It has everything that makes Batman good, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then you come to Batman Robin, and you're like, I'm done. I'm done. The writing is so bad, honestly. The fact that they actually, also, something which you can very well tell in this movie is that Joel Schumacher must have been very interested in making toys for Batman and Robin, which is kind of disturbing because of the bat nipples and the crotch and the ass. That's not something I think kids want to see. I personally don't want to see that. In fact, there's a scene where they have Barbara Wilson wearing they have Batgirl wearing this, like, mask, and it's horrible. By the way, the costumes in this movie, absolutely atrocious. Most times the costumes are really good. The costumes in this movie are so bad. I don't know what you were thinking, Joel Schumacher. They look, literally, here's what they look like. You know those really bad, like, B movies, or those really bad parody movies that you see, or something like that? Or, like, when you see, like, Halloween costumes. I mean, there are Halloween costumes that look better than the costumes in this movie. But you know those, like, really bad costumes you see for, like, people that just made them very cheaply? That's what they look like in this movie. They look so cheaply made. Nothing looks impressive. Poison Ivy looks like a porn star in this movie. It's ridiculous. There's a scene where Poison Ivy literally jumps out and, like, all these, like, shirtless guys she starts, like, walking on their hands. It's like, am I in a porno or is this Batman? Like, what is this? The bat nipples, ridiculous idea. I don't know why you thought this was a good idea. It doesn't make your movie better. Joel Schumacher just didn't care. He didn't. I mean, this is a movie where just anything goes. That's the rule of this movie, is anything goes. He doesn't care what he does. He doesn't care if you don't like it. He just does it anyway. And he doesn't see anything wrong with it. That's what really sucks. Joel Schumacher has come out and said this movie was a failure. But me personally, I think he only did that because he needed to do that, and it's not like he's made better movies, because he did make Phantom of the Opera, which also killed a very good musical. And Joel Schumacher just, wow, it's really sad to see how far he's gone. I mean, look at how many movies he's made in the past few years. Yeah, that's how bad this movie was, really. He hasn't really made anything, and the writing is so bad to this movie. Honestly, the writing is so bad. The fact that they actually were taking this seriously is so ridiculous. There's a scene towards the end of the movie where Batman's giving this motivational speech, and it's like the most obvious shit ever. He's like, when you sacrifice yourself, it is one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. It's like, no shit, Batman. Like, you die. It's obviously hard to do. And there are so many things that make no sense in this movie whatsoever, and they don't care, and they just keeps going and going. There are times where, yeah, you can laugh, but then there are other times where it's just like, I can't even laugh at that because it's just that ridiculous. It's that stupid. There were times where I wanted to laugh, but I couldn't because it was just that dumb. It really was. Cinematography as well. It looks like a movie on the Sci-Fi Channel. It really does. Also, the humor in this movie is the humor of a Disney Channel show. That's what this reminded me of. It made me think of like a Disney version of Batman and Robin. Minus all the sexual references, a Disney version of Batman and Robin. Think of a really bad Disney Channel like superhero movie. That's what this is. They're probably better than this anyway, honestly. That's what this made me think of. It made me think of a really bad superhero movie on the Disney Channel. That's how cheesy this is. And it's worse than the 1960s version. Honestly, the 1960s version you can have fun with. This, you can't have fun with it. Honestly, after a few minutes, I mean, when you have an ice rinks thing, and I'm going to talk about the action scenes right now. The action scenes are some of the worst I've ever seen in my life. I mean, when the first 5 minutes of your movie, they're ice skating, and they're like having an ice rink fight, and they have like ice skates in their suits. You know the movie's gonna be terrible. You do. And then when they're on skateboards, and it's just ridiculous, and there's zero character development from any of these characters. They don't try to flesh out any of the characters, and anything they do in this movie is not subtle. Nothing they do in this movie is subtle. Everything is like right in your face. Everything is, oh, we're doing this. You can tell we're doing this. It's completely obvious, and that really pissed me off, because something that I think could make this movie better is if it maybe had been a little bit more subtle. If it maybe been a little bit more subtle and maybe not show everything in our face, like show close up of the bat nipples. Like, who wants to see that? I don't want to see that. Nobody wants to see that. That doesn't turn somebody on. That doesn't make me want to see the movie. That makes me want to walk out. I was watching this movie on my laptop. I walked out like 3 times. I couldn't take it. I really couldn't, honestly. It's that bad. I mean, thank God I didn't watch it in the movie. I mean, honestly. But there are a lot of very quotable lines in this movie, but they're not for good reason. Like, probably the most quotable line for me, bombs. Also, Bane in this movie. I forgot to say this. Bane is in this movie, but he's not Bane. He's more of just retarded purple bodybuilder. That's who he is, because all he says is just random shit. Like, if someone says something to him, he'll just repeat it. Like, there's a scene where Poison Ivy says exit, and he's like, exit, exit. And then the best line by far, he's told to put all these bombs, set up all these bombs on the plane, and he just goes, bombs, 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 like, at least 4 times, and yeah, it's ridiculous. That's the kind of movie you're watching, is where you just have someone going, bombs, bombs. It's not intelligent, and the fact that you actually thought someone thought that would be cool is really dumb. It's not cool. It's just someone going, bombs. It's not funny at all. It's funny because of how bad it is, honestly. The fact that they actually thought that's Bane. That's not Bane. That's some purple person from, like, Frankenstein's lab, because he's literally created by, like, this mad scientist, and it's completely ridiculous. It really is. I mean, there's a line in this movie where Batman says, this is why Superman works alone. I really felt his pain, because honestly, I just think of the first Batman when it was so simplistic, and you just had Batman fighting alone with Joker, and it was so simplistic, and you just see how far we've come. It's like, more characters does not mean your movie is better. Okay, I like simplistic ideas. Sometimes more characters can make a story better. This is not one of those cases. This movie's too convoluted. There's too much going on. You don't care about half of the storylines going on in this movie. A chunk of this movie could have been cut out. I mean, there's this random scene where he's talking to this girl, and he's picturing Ivy, and it's like, the only reason they put that in there is because of the first 3 movies when he had a love interest. There's no love interest in this movie. There's this random girl for like 5 minutes, and you're like, why the hell was she in the movie? There's no point for her to be in the movie. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing in this movie makes sense. The score sounds like something I'd hear on an episode of, like, I don't know, like the classic Spider-Man. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a superhero score. It's like da da da. It sounds like it's trying to be like Star Wars, and it's not. It's like da 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 da. It's like, it sounds like it's trying to be like Star Wars, and I'm like, stop trying to be like Star Wars. Also, the ending to this movie. That is by far one of the dumbest endings I've ever seen. I mean, just the fact that they thought there'd actually be a sequel to this movie just appalls me. The fact they actually thought they would do that is ridiculous. It really is. And thank God this movie bombed. Just thank God. People realized that this movie sucked, and while Batman Forever did pretty well, that's understandable. You can have fun with this movie. This movie, you can't have fun with it. You can't get over how grotesque and disgusting it is. This movie's disgusting. It is. There's so many disgusting scenes in this movie. There's so many things in this movie that I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about this movie that much longer. I really don't. This movie gets a 0.0 out of 5 or an F-. That's how bad this movie is, honestly. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. It's the worst comic movie I've ever seen. The characters in the movie do talk this fast just so they don't have to say the cheesy dialogue they do. They literally talk like this. They just talk this fast. Oh, you can't understand what they're saying. Like, they talk really fast like that, and it's really annoying. And the Robin subplot's really annoying. You don't care about Batgirl. You don't care about Poison Ivy. You don't care about really anyone in this movie. Everyone was horribly miscast. There's no one in this movie that's doing a good job. The best character in the movie was Bane because of boom. Seriously, that's like the best thing ever, even though it's like the worst thing ever. I will say this. If you treat this movie like a comedy, get some friends, you'll laugh, you'll have a good time. But as a Batman movie, it's just not Batman. And thank God Christopher Nolan decided to redo the series. Thank God he did that. And luckily now we have finally gotten into that point. I am so happy that I am done with the first 4 movies. If it had not been for me watching these 3 movies, I would not have even touched these 4 movies. I wasn't going to watch Batman and Robin, but I said to myself, I have to watch the bad to get to the good. Because we have to see how bad it got to why we needed the reboot. I mean, I needed to see why we needed it, and now I see why. Because this was horribly done. This just sucked horribly, and it was worse than I thought it would be. Really, it was so much worse than I thought it would be, and I thought it was gonna, I thought maybe it wouldn't be as bad as I thought, but it was even worse than I thought it would be. Really, it was. So, yeah, Batman and Robin fucking sucks. Don't watch this movie. I know we all hate it. It's absolutely horrible. There's nothing good about this movie. There's nothing interesting about this movie. Everything just sucks. Everything's dumb. Nothing works. Everything's wooden. Nothing's memorable. The directing's terrible. They're trying to push, like, toy sales, and it doesn't work. They're trying to go for, like, this kid-friendly dynamic that's not working because there's so many sexual references. They're trying to rehash things from the first, like, 4 movies. They're trying to get you to care more for the characters, and it doesn't work. And they have just so much miscasting. Seriously, nothing works in Batman and Robin. It is truly a film atrocity. It is not only one of the worst... It is not only one of the worst superhero movies, but the worst superhero movie of all time. It's one of the worst movies of all time. It really is that bad. So that's basically my epic rant on Batman and Robin. Let me know what you guys think of this movie. You have seen it. I know that this review might have been just repetitive, but there's not much you can say about it. Really, there's not. You basically have to just say what other reviewers have because that's all you can really say about this movie. So that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys saw this movie. If you have seen it, please don't watch this movie. Seriously, guys. You know what's good for you. Don't watch this movie. Watch the first 2 and then end there. Batman Forever is not going to do you anything. It's nothing you need to see. Honestly, just watch the first movie and then you're good. Honestly, for me, the problems with this movie started in the second movie. That's where this started to get really bad. That's really what happened for me, at least. But that's basically this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys in my next video, which luckily, finally, I will be reviewing the trilogy. But my next video will actually be for the series premiere of the Astronaut Wives Club, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.